What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we are going out to the driveway to take a good look at the 92 F150 that we're about ready to rebuild. Okay, so if you've been following the channel for a little bit, you're gonna know that I have a 1992 Ford F150. We did a video on it a while back about replacing the fuel filter on it. That video is probably one of our better ones that we've ever done in terms of viewership. But I got this vehicle from my grandfather. He had this vehicle not since new, but since the early 90s. He always used to say that the best truck that you can ever have is a Chevy. And yet I only remember him ever owning a Ford. Weird. So after he passed away, I picked up this truck. And here she is right here. Now this truck is from Illinois, as you can see from the plates right here. This was last registered in 2013. Now that is because as my grandfather got older and his health started to decline just a little bit, they didn't allow him to renew his license. So this thing sat in a backyard for years before I finally picked this thing up. And I've had it here in my driveway for probably about 3 years. As you can see, it started to become a home for wasps. So we have to watch out for that as well. Illinois was not very kind to this vehicle. As we start to look around, we see a lot of rust. Like here in this front bumper, it's almost completely gone. We have some up here on the hood. We have on that rear section here, if we see, we are starting to rust through on the body there. We have rust here on the ground from where it just kind of collapsed when I backed up. We have a front fender that's going to need replacing or patching. This section here is kind of starting to go. And then of course, as you look here at the frame, there's a lot of surface rust, but we're going to have to get in there and see how deep all of this goes. And of course, rusting here along this section. Rear bumper's not in too bad of a shape. It looks like some of this plastic needs to be replaced, but the bumper itself isn't too bad. If we start looking at some of our leaf springs, yeah, these things have seen better days, as well as our shocks. So we're gonna have to get in there and check all of that out. Right now, I just have this grouping of junk sitting on top of it, some old sandwich boards. That is the tailgate off of the original bed, as well as this Mustang hood. Got it from my neighbor. We might put it up in here, make it into a nice little showpiece once I get my garage back. I've never had to do anything before with a vehicle's frame. I do know that Drew says that we can start sanding some of this down. We can put on a black primer that will stop the rusting on it, but we'll have to see. I don't really want to lift the body because if we look at all the rust that's on this thing, I'm just kind of afraid we're going to have a lot of bolts snap off. And if that happens up there by the body too, that's going to be an issue. Another thing with this is as we move up towards the interior is not in bad shape. There's no cracks here in the dash, and I want to make sure that we're able to preserve this, because whereas a lot of this has started to rust away, the interior is still good. And as a sentimental part of it, this is what my grandpa used to drive in. This is where he used to sit, and I want to preserve this. Staying here with the exterior of the vehicle, we can see that the exhaust has rusted and fallen off. This drive shaft, I believe, is a newer drive shaft. We can see some of these fuel lines were redone, but we still have to fix some of them. We have a new tank in here that the missus got me early on. So this is a new tank, as you guys would have seen when I put in the new fuel pump. We still need to get a secondary tank because this one did run the longer secondary tank on here because this was an 8.5 foot bed. With the bed, what happened to this, and I'm not sure if I have any pictures of it, but if I do, I'll post them up. When myself and Gabby were transporting this back, one of the rear tires blew out. If you guys look, these tires here, even though they are starting to go flat, these are actually relatively new tires. There's only probably about 1,000 miles on these things in total from when we had them replaced, somewhere in the middle of Illinois. This tire here blew out and ended up blowing out the whole quarter section, the rear quarter section of the truck bed, which again, like the rest of it, it's seen quite a bit of rust. So we ended up having to scrap the bed. And like with most things on this, the bolts were rusted. I'm not sure if we have any that are still on here anywhere. Oh, here we go, right here. You can see I had to cut these because those would not come off. So we are on a hunt for a new bed. If possible, I might get something that is a junk truck with a good bed. That way we can replace the whole thing and go from there. Again, moving on to the inside, we can see these door cards aren't too bad. They need to be cleaned up a little bit, but they are still in good working condition. All the switches work, keys still work, has an electric seat that still works, as you can see right here. The battery is dead, otherwise I'd show you guys. Some of the vents need to be cleaned, but overall, the whole interior of this truck is still in good working order. If we slide in here, we can see here is our gauge cluster. Everything's in good working order, but I know my grandpa didn't drive it a whole lot, so there shouldn't be a whole lot of miles on here. There might even be just 45,000 if I'm not mistaken. But once we get it on, I'd have to see. The only problem that we have on the interior, as you can see, the switch to switch between your front and rear gas tanks has gone out, so that will need to be fixed. Going underneath the hood, we can see here, I do need a new battery. I need to see if I can get that warranted. It might still be good, but I'm not really sure what that coffee can looking thing is. I've always wondered that. The engine itself is not in bad condition. This is a 5.0 V8 in here. She does sound pretty good when she's running, but it's been a little bit since she's ran. I put a new filter in here, cleaned it up, did a little bit of an injection flush. We do have a newer distributor on top of there. I'm again on the fence as to whether or not we'll pull this engine out and do a full refresh on it. If it's needed, we might. I do know I want to try and put some headers on here and a full exhaust, get it looking a lot nicer. But overall, the truck itself, the engine isn't bad. We do need to get to the oil pan, however, there is a leak. We didn't really realize this until we started going uphill, and just smoke started pouring out and oil was spreading all over the front of the ST when we had it at the time. So there is an oil leak at the back of the oil pan that we need to fix. I tried to get up in there and put some type of sealant in there to stop it for now. I don't know how well it did, but we still need to get in there and fix that. Overall, I would say that we got a pretty good project here. Now, the thing that I am wondering is, do we do a refresh on this, make it look like it did originally? And that means refreshing the white paint, freshening up the red here, and putting it back to how it was brand new? Or do we make something cool out of it? Again, like I said, I'm going to keep the interior the same. So we need to have a color that's gonna go good with that red. Now, I may keep it white or maybe do a matte white finish on it, or we do something black. I know black will go with the red, even though I know some of you are probably gonna ask for me to swap out the red. I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. So put your thoughts in the comments below and kind of let me know what you think I should do with this. I do know that it is a good truck that can last for a lot longer as long as I start cleaning some of this stuff up, and we'll start bringing new parts in and getting started on this build soon. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead, hit it right now while we're talking. That way, you know what? At the end of this, I can say, oh my God, we're that closer to 500 subscribers. Yes, I know 500 isn't a big milestone, but for me, it is. And make sure you hit that bell notification while you're at it too. That way you don't miss any of the stuff that we got coming up with the F150. We're gonna do everything on this in a how-to style. That way anybody that needs help on this thing can kind of find it along the way. Give this video a big thumbs up, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.